your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is Tuesday, the 7th of May, 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. A 29-year-old man has been called the prime suspect in the mass shooting reported in Costa Rica on Saturday night, which claimed the lives of 4 men and injured 8 others, has been held attempting to flee the country. The suspect, who was said to be from Waterhole Road, Costa Rica, was held last night at the Piarco International Airport. On Sunday, a team of officers from the Western Division, supervised by Senior Superintendent Henry, Superintendent Williams, ASP Lynch, and directly coordinated by Sergeant Geneville, Corporal Khan, and Corporal Cicheran, received intelligence that the suspect was attempting to flee the country and attempting to board a plane to JFK Airport in New York. Officers made their way to the airport at around 10:30 p.m., where they were able to identify the suspect before he could board the flight. The man had been sought for questioning for several rounds of ammunition, 5.56 ammunition, and 9mm ammunition, alongside a magazine containing 5 rounds of .9mm ammunition, were recovered at his house following the execution of a search warrant. A 33-year-old relative was also arrested at the house and also remained in police custody up to last night. Over 42 spent shells were recovered outside building Effort Powder Magazine in Costa Rica by forensic officials following the shooting, which claimed the lives of Shaquille Otley, 22, Siddiqui Otley, 31, Jonathan Osmond, 36, and Antonio Jack, 57, at around 11 p.m. on Saturday. 8 others were injured in the attack. Among the spent shells at the scene were 7.62mm ammunition and .99mm ammunition. Police are urging the public's vigilance after a Piarco woman was set on fire during a home invasion. On May 5th, a woman was at her home, Kelly Street, Piarco, when 2 people, a couple, a man and a woman pretending to be lost, hopeful tenants, called out to her. The 66-year-old woman walked to the front gate, where the woman in the front passenger seat of a black car came out and pulled out a gun, forcing the woman to open her gate. Once inside, the 2 suspects began to ransack the house looking for valuables, which they demanded cash and jewelry. After the woman told them she did not have any valuables, they physically assaulted her, threw a liquid on her, and set her on fire. The woman began to scream and the suspects left in the car. Neighbors heard the woman's screams and called the police. The woman was treated at the Arima Hospital and later discharged. Officers from the Piarco police station are investigating and asking for the public's help in identifying and finding the couple. Government estimates the cost related to the cleanup and other services paid following the Tobago oil spill earlier this year could be in the vicinity of $14 to $20 million. Energy and Energy Affairs Minister Stuart Young told reporters at a briefing on Monday the ministry is awaiting claims to be submitted to the House from the House of Assembly before working out the cost to taxpayers to address the February 9th oil spill. Minister Young said 2001 this country had signed on to an international convention relating to civil liability in the case of oil pollution. Meanwhile, the Canadian and American governments are helping the TNT government as various leads are being pursued in tracking the owners of the vessel involved in Tobago oil spill incident, which happened in February this year. Minister Young said it is apparent there's an industry taking place where rogue vessels and owners are not submitting their proper documentation and other critical details relating to operations, including insurance. Minister Young said the situation can negatively impact the maritime industry in the region. Staying with energy matters, a group has expressed interest in the closed Petro-Trin refinery. The government explains the interested party would have to be able to address several issues, including the financial capacity to operate the Pointe-a-Pierre refinery, as well as asset management. It was revealed government is still interested in getting the refinery restarted and operationalized. However, no official proposal has yet been submitted by the group. Renowned Caribbean health researcher and scholar Professor Emeritus David Pico has died. The health ministry said it mourned the loss of a remarkable human being, a celebrated hero who dedicated his life and career to the field of medicine and medical research. It described his grateful his stewardship and extended condolences to his wife, Professor Zulika Ali, his family, colleagues, friends, students, mentees, and all those lives who've been impacted by the true gentleman and scholar. Finally, the BBC reports America has opened a new probe of jet firm Boeing after the company told air safety regulators it may not have properly inspected its 787 Dreamliner airlines. The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, said it would look into whether staff also falsified records. It said Boeing was reinspecting all 787 jets still on the manufacturing line. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming up at 7 a.m. and brought to you with the compliments of Jasenko Appliances Limited.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Neighbors, good morning, neighbors. Good morning, neighbors. 7 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock on this, the 7th day of May. 1 week already has gone. Thank you so much for joining us on the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital. On television, you can watch us, Flow Channel 111, Flow HD 109, and of course, Amplia Channel 117, and Digicel Channel 20. All right, it's the Orange Twins this morning. We just heard from Paul Richards. We'll hear from Richard Ragoobarsingh. We got Shane and Ruben in the mix. It is 26 degrees at Piarco International Airport, 27 at Crown Point, and it's going to be a scorcher today. Good morning to you, Paul. What's happening?
Morning, Steve. Good morning, everyone. Good Tuesday morning.
Good morning, morning. It's a warm morning.
Yes.
And it's going to be, not forgetting that Sahara dust. That's going to stay with us all week. And it is thick.
But yeah, they warned us about it since last week. That there's going to be a flu starting on Saturday and ending up like on Wednesday-ish.
Yeah.
Today and tomorrow are expected to be the most concentrated days. So if you have respiratory issues, please take the necessary precautions.
Yeah.
Good morning to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And congratulations on your excellent.
This.
Okay, where did that come from? But all right.
Gave him the computer, Steve.
Yeah. I'm working with one today.
Well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so kudos to the TDPS. Wanted to do a Lorraine, but instead of JFK, Piarco.
Yeah, give the police a little round of applause.
Yeah. Give them a round of applause. Yeah.
They pulled up at the airport last night,
Sunday night.
They pulled up at the airport last night. At what time?
10 o'clock.
About 10 o'clock, And a 29-year-old man. Okay, Siren. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
okay, Siren.
Thank you, Siren.
We get carried away now.
Yeah.
The police are acting on intelligence after that horrendous shooting which claimed the lives of 4 in Cocorite on Saturday night. Got intelligence that a man who they said was wanted in connection with the shooting deaths of 22-year-old Shaquille Otley, 31-year-old Siddiqui Otley, apparently they're not related, 36-year-old Jonathan Osmond, and 57-year-old Antonio Jack was about to board a flight. The officers made their way to the airport at around 10:30, and they identified the suspect in the what is the way it's called that? The waiting room. In the waiting room, sitting to
gallery,
in the departure gallery.
There you go.
Having already cleared, and they walked up to him and said, "Hey, where you going?
Yo,
hey, you, yes, you. Where you going? Where are you going? Well, you're not going again. Come. As your bag, pick it up. Let me go." They executed a search warrant at a place identified as his home and found several rounds of 5.56 millimeter ammunition and 9 millimeter ammunition, a magazine containing 9 millimeter ammunition, and they also arrested a relative at the home, a 33-year-old relative, who probably sing like a bird after they put his family jewels in a drawer and slammed it. I'm just presuming here. I don't have any information to support that statement. After which he sang like a bird. So I guess that could be where they got the information from. That cousin going in the airport, he flying to New York tonight, and they apprehended the man. So congratulations once again to the TTPS. Girl, good stuff, TTPS. Good stuff. That's how you're supposed to operate. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Yeah.
We can pretty innocent little bad boy. What you going to do? What you going to do when you come?
Well, good for the police. I don't want to diminish the work in any way. I think it was great work.
Yeah, well done, TTPS.
I hope that person, they can be the supporting evidence to make sure that person is charged with multiple murder if indeed the evidence supports that. I am sure a lot of the evidence would have already been sent, hopefully, to the Director of Public Prosecution for him to let them know. But I think in these cases, they may not have to wait for the DPP, I think it's only when they have questions, they want to make sure. I could stand corrected. Anyway, good job, TTPS. Good job. This kind of thing we want to hear more from you all.
Yeah. So let's start now with some good news this morning.
Good job, Mrs. Erla, here with Christopher.
Keep it up.
That is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Very happy. Good morning, Nisha Guy. That lady could sing so well.
Nisha. Morning, Nisha. I
morning,
didn't say hello.
Good morning, Rena.
Say hello to my peeps.
Good morning, Dancing Queen, Randy Kelly, Richard
Dancing Queen,
Rivera, Gloria Gay, Nikisha Pear, Ian Andrew Nawalu Lee, Brent Hackshaw, Slick Money Grip, Sherwin Kurz, CJ from New York, Alistair Hart, John Cato, Isa Sure, Doreen Pierre, Maria Celia, Boy Bedesi, got Celia Wayne B, Anthony Tinto, Oliver Man Warren. Did I say Wendy and James already? Yeah. Good morning to you. Karen. And anybody else who I may have forgotten or ignored. Yeah. Brenda, Isaac, and everyone. Ronald Bahadur. Good morning to you.
In Pity Valley.
Thank you all for being here. Good morning to our viewers on METV and, of course, streaming around the world on the Power 102 digital app.
Yeah. Good morning to Dan Raj. You sent us a message via WhatsApp. And, of course, Captain Ron. Good morning to you. Where's Captain Ron today?
Happy 35th birthday, John Ross. You're very young. Enjoy it while it lasts.
Oh, today's the birthday, and happy birthday to you, my friend. I haven't seen you in such a long time. Ray Braffett. He's celebrating his birthday today. So happy birthday to you, Ray. It's been a while.
So you all need to be careful out there. Right? Just in case you all didn't know, it have real psychos out there.
Speaking on cue.
And that was just coincidence. I didn't mean to imply that Richard is a psycho. He just came in as I was talking about.
Yeah, Richard is
not. Good morning, Mr. Ragoobarsingh.
And I saw you looking at the screen and I said, I'm going to get in early this morning. Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Wendell. And good morning, of course, to our listeners, wherever you are across this planet this morning, watching us or listening to us or both. Yeah. So...
yeah, you all be careful out there because there's a couple who is driving around pretending they're looking for places to rent, and including a man and a woman. Sometimes she pretends to be in need of help. When you, as a good Samaritan, go to your gate as a woman, a 66-year-old woman did over the weekend in Piaco, the woman put a gun to her. They pushed her inside, ransacked her house, demanded cash and jewelry after she said she didn't have any valuables. They physically assaulted her. The man threw a liquid in her, and then the woman set her on fire. So beating her up wasn't enough.
No.
She died?
No, she didn't die. Fortunately, she didn't die. She made a noise. Of course, she would have been screaming. Her good neighbors came, and her neighbors helped to douse the fire on her and call the police. And she was taken to the Arima General Hospital and later discharged. Police are asking anyone in the public for help to find this horrible couple. When you feel there's only man doing dirtiness out here. You know, and of course, people's guards
the
will
police
drop
are not following
when it's
up
a
with
female.
the police aren't. Well, this isn't just me speculating. But I assume there are cameras in that area, not necessarily from the state, but from residences that they could follow up with and say, well, what kind of footage do you have? What kind of footage do you have?
Yeah. So now they will do that.
They do. They do that sometimes.
Yeah,
I know
they do that.
And find them, and they should make a public story about the fact when they've caught these people.
Richard, is there a legal impediment to putting up wanted pictures in the country?
Oh, you know, that's an argument there's an argument on both sides with regard to that. And I think the police just err on the side of caution, I guess. But because they don't do it, they used to put a person of interest before. That's how they used to phrase it. Because you are innocent until proven guilty, so it becomes
well, if you're a person of interest and taking no crime, I could be interested in questioning you.
Right, I don't think there is a problem in saying this is a person of interest. Of course, there is an implication, nevertheless, that you did something, and there
you know something. You don't mean you did something. It could mean you know something that we want to find out from you. If you're willing to help us and cooperate. Where you going? The buck harassed him again there. Where you going? Just so he was in the mid sentence and then he just turned off the camera. The buck harassed him there again, or he got some strange goings on in that place, you know.
Yeah, boy. What happened there, Richard?
The buck wake up out. The buck turned off the microphone again, sir. So
no, there was a noise with, coming out of my AC now, so I just went to deal with it.
The buck. Yeah, AKA the buck.
No, the AC unit made a
the camera so quick. Okay.
So I don't know what is going on with regard to, but I mean, yes, they used to put a person of interest, but of course there is a certain inference when you put up somebody's picture of person of interest. It's read in a particular way by citizens.
Yes, but legally they didn't say you do nothing. We're just interested in talking.
Well, yeah, so that's why I'm saying it's half a dozen or 1/6 of the other. Mm-hmm. And obviously they have stopped doing it for a reason because they used to do it. So obviously I assume it's some legal counsel that would have them remove it. But there would be arguments on both sides of the coin.
Even business establishments that sometimes used to put up pictures of people. This person is a shoplifter. They've kind of desisted doing that now, haven't they? You used to see that often in some stores.
Well, you see, but I think what people put up now, and at least in some stores that I've gone in and I've seen, they say they're
screen catch.
They have a picture of the person and say this person is banned or something like that. And I suppose it's more for the employees than for the members of the public. But
well, by the door, when they put up by the door, it's for the employees.
No, so that's just close to the cashier.
That's the public partner.
That's just close to the cashier. This person is bad.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, we were congratulating the members of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service earlier on for having arrested a suspect in the multiple. Why they call it a mass shooting? Is it? Would you consider it a mass shooting? As a multiple shooting. Mass shooting is like when they do 27, like in the US, or 13. What you say? Or it's just a nuance.
But a mass shooting in the United States, I think, is anything above 3, yeah?
But then it may qualify in the US as a mass shooting.
Yeah.
In Cocorite. So they arrested 2 people. One trying to board a flight to New York. And another in the house where they went and found quite a bit of ammunition. And I think a weapon or 2. So congratulations again to the members of the Trinidad and Tobago
Yeah,
Police Service
absolutely.
for
That
that
was
quick,
some good police work.
intervention.
Okay, then. Quickly.
That draw with family jewel slamming is very effective sometimes, you know. You want they hold in the house, they probably subject them to some quite rigorous interrogation.
Or they held somebody in the house, in our house.
They arrested a relative in the house of the suspect who was from Cocorite Waterhole, not part of the magazine, the water, which is close by.
Such a sad and horrific story.
Yeah.
People just outside. And you know what is even and which has become a scary thing throughout Trinidad and Tobago is that liming is a cultural pastime. And even that is under threat, and has been under threat for years now. That people liming by wherever. Sometimes it's just out front of their houses, they're liming, and people are shot and killed. Randomly, people are liming by a corner who have nothing to do with anything, but they're liming and talking, drinking, sometimes playing, whatever. All fours, whatever. People dead. That's
it's disgusting, but and they don't care. There's just they pull up. If there was a child, God forbid, who shouldn't be out that hour of the night, in my opinion, but people sometimes it's a Saturday and children, teenagers are out also, would have also been shot. You know. I don't know. DL, we do have the date as the first thing on the ticker tape. So this is the second time I see us say that. We put it up very often. We interchange between the date and the channels that we're on and the numbers to call when we do open the phone lines for the benefit of the viewers. The Minister of Energy and Energy Industries held a press conference yesterday and said the related cost of cleanup for the oil spill in Tobago is between 14 and 20 million US dollars.
Wow.
Yeah, wow was right.
That's a big wow.
And they ain't come to all the money yet.
Isn't the cleanup still ongoing?
Yeah, because they moved the derelict vessel yet.
It's still there.
He said the ministry is still awaiting claims to be submitted from the Tobago House of Assembly before working on the cost to taxpayers. There's a report in the newspaper this morning that also suggested that the THA Chief Secretary, Fali Augustine, is maybe reshuffling his executive today. Or you think the shark will get a position, a secretary of Biden or something?
No, I don't think so, Paul.
You sure? But he put out a bounty, you know. So anything possible. Let me put up a bounty for a shark in the ocean to move it to a safer place. So anything possible. The Secretary for Environmental and Oceanic Affairs. You never know.
Ministry of Shark.
Okay. Minister Young said the country signed an international convention related to civil liability in the case of oil pollution. He also said it seems that there is quite go figure, some sort of organized illegal activity in the maritime industry where the owners of vessels are not filling out the requisite documentation. That must be why they can't find who owns these two vessels yet. Because it's the one that get left behind and hit the reef and spill the oil, and it's the one that was put in just disappear in the age of radar and satellite. You know, geopositioning stationary satellites all over. Elon Musk must see about 200 by himself.
He sent 23 up yesterday.
You understand? In the era of of satellites all around the world in the stationary orbits, we can't find where this boat that we saw leaving somewhere in Central America, towing it into that water, and the one that towing it just disappeared. Nobody knows where it's going.
But Paul, for all of this in there, they couldn't find a plane that disappeared with people on it.
That's true. They haven't found MH370 yet.
It's not long
But they would have nowhere to disappear, wrong way to disappear.
But
We don't even know where the boat disappear.
The sea big, you know.
So the boat that was putting it sink to, it plucked up the radar.
But the point is the sea big. A boat could disappear. It could go wherever it want to go.
Apparently.
A plane disappear with human beings on it in the 21st century. And we still can't find that plane yet. Was it MH370 or something like that? I can't remember.
Yeah, it is Malaysian Airlines.
To this day, they can't find that plane.
They can't even find Amelia Earhart.
And a million conspiracy theories and yes, documentaries about it.
Yeah.
Yes, you should describe it. So I guess he said they are working with the American and Canadian governments who are helping Trinidad and Tobago as various leads are being pursued in tracking the owners of the vessels involved in the spill. February, March, April, now May. Is that a question this morning? Do you think they'll ever find the owners of the vessel? Is that a potential question?
It's one. You could list it as one.
Yeah, you can list it as one.
What I want to say, I have a very special message this morning, and I wanted you all to listen very carefully. What's up?
Oh God, don't even start me with that, Richard.
What's up? Seriously? I do not know what the hell is going on with Guanapo, but could we get some water in Arima, please? Thank you. In Central Arima. What's up?
You know what would be more impactful? You know what would be more impactful?
What, migrating?
Wasal. You can migrate for water. You
What?
can migrate for water. Ragoobarsingh, you can leave this beautiful Twin Island Republic for water. Yeah. And we are islands surrounded by water.
Let me tell you.
All need salt water, but we have rivers and streams and lakes.
I tell the customer service.
It's an island.
And reservoirs. And
I tell her that once. I say, you all have now overtaken crime as the number one reason to migrate. I tell her that once.
No, but listen, I actually had to call the WASA hotline to get a truck-borne water on the weekend. I did not know water went since Tuesday.
But Steve and Paul and listeners, the hotline to request truck.
Oh, I was number 78. I was number 78 in queue.
Yeah, opens at 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
I went down the road to get papers at 6 a.m. Okay, at 6:05 this morning, I called the WASA hotline to say, well, at least let me put in a truck born, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you know this song?
Yeah.
Daniel Knight says to know if it's transponder. Daniel, you see the thing called satellite? You don't need a transponder to track it. They see you running around your house.
WASA eBill, a quick and convenient way to accept your bill online. Signing up is easy. Just go to our website and complete the form, or visit any.
This is my life this morning. In 2024, this is your life.
If the bill is not in your name, then an
6:05.
WASA eBill.
And there were already 30 people ahead of me in the line.
You know what?
I was like that
Sunday
morning.
Saying Richard, saying Wasa's a between them. Say Marvin. say Marvin.
Not only that, gentlemen. Apart from getting my truck born on Sunday, I'm using it sparingly. We had no water yesterday. When I went to bed, I went and I checked the
today.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you what. I get into that now.
5 this morning.
No, I get into that now. So last night I went to bed. I checked the tanks. No water coming in. I have laundry to do. So I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning because I have all my stuff to wash. I went outside. The tanks are filling, bit trickling, eh? So it probably came on like around midnight, I'm guessing. So I put a load of laundry to wash one time. I said, is it filling? Let me put this load of laundry. That's why I came to work so early.
You need to get laundry to do more often.
Yeah, I was here by 5:20. I took my time and I drove down the highway and.
Anyway,
But it's ridiculous, Richard. I understand. You see, and exactly on queue, and WhatsApp people will tell you the queue is long. Why
And
I have to be number 78? How long
and
I
I
have to be
thought they were
number
making
3
so.
hours?
I thought they were making so many improvements in at least in our area, because I haven't had a reason, as you all would have known, to shout Wasser's name
In a while, you haven't done it.
in a while. I have not. So there has been some level of improvement, but I don't know what's going on these days. Because anytime I see water trucks down Central Arima at various restaurants, like at Castro's, filling up tanks, you know something is
Yeah.
up.
I actually saw a few water trucks filling people's tanks yesterday in Barrett area. And I'm going, geez, boy. But kudos to the truck drivers and those that deliver water and so on. They are very pleasant. They come in, they do what they have to do, they're gone again. It's just the tanks need to be bigger. The water tanks.
what prompts a father to stab his 19-year-old son?
Oh, don't get me started with that. That's another. And then that video I sent you guys yesterday, disturbing as well. I don't know what's going on.
I sent it to Superintendent Claire Guy Allen, and to her credit, commendations to her. She's the head of the police victim and wellness unit. She responded.
the one I sent to you?
immediately. Yes.
Right.
She responded immediately and said she's launched an investigation. And the video, I'm not going to show the video
No.
because it shows clearly a minor holding his mother down on the ground, and she's and abusing her basically.
Yes.
And she's trying to wrestle herself from under him, and you can hear what sounds like a female sibling asking the mother, "Just push him off, mommy. Just push him off. He can't continue like this. Just push him off." And he has a deranged look in his eyes. I think something is wrong with him actually.
No, yeah,
It doesn't look like if he's playing with a full deck.
But it brings another question, because in the video she said he cannot call the police because he has no money on the phone.
You can.
That's what I'm asking. So can you dial the emergency
You absolutely, I think you absolutely can call the police. You can make an emergency call without credit.
Okay, I did not know. I was wondering that.
Yeah, you can.
There you go, folks. If you have no credit on your phone, you can call emergency services and you'll get through. I did not know.
So this video is just when you sent it, Steve, I just forwarded it immediately to Superintendent Claire Guy Allen, and she said she asked if there was any other information. I said no. Someone sent it to me, and it's very disturbing. So I'm hoping you can investigate for the sake of the mother and the female person and the child who was the perpetrator, because he's clearly not playing with a full deck.
No,
there's something wrong with him. You can tell there's something wrong with him, and it didn't seem like it was, from the circumstances, like it was the first time he was abusive to his mother.
No, it didn't.
Because he was pinning her to the ground. She was dressed in a braloon and a skirt, and she was trying to wrestle herself from under him, and he had overpowered her and had her on the floor. Very, very disturbing video. I don't know. And then this story about this man who is on the run now. I don't know if police have caught him since.
His 19-year-old son.
Who stabbed his 19-year-old son allegedly, and the boy died at hospital. I don't know. Steve,
I think.
Why is an Antonov 124 100
doing it? I have no idea. It's leaving today.
A Russian aircraft.
Yeah, it's a cargo.
Biggest aircraft in the world, a cargo craft. They said it has been transporting heavy machinery, including oil drilling machinery, and it was flying from the Orlando International Airport. It was supposedly, according to the Express, carrying oil pipelines. That is one huge craft.
It is, well, currently it is the largest, because the largest aircraft, which had 6 engines with the Russian war, was burned. So this is now the largest. And it's here. It would be a sight to see. Well, for the geek in me, it would be a sight to see. I think it's leaving today sometime.
I think that.
Well, they need a length of runway. I actually have a video.
I saw several people putting up pictures and saying that they had sighted what they believed to be Black Hawk helicopters
Yes, so I was just getting to there.
over our airspace also. Because
Yeah.
Russia sent
Soldiers-
America
No.
sent Black Hawk to monitor.
No, soldiers of the Delaware Army National Guard Aviation Unit is down here. It is a training. It's a training mission. So a C-130 came in with the 3 helicopters in it, and they've been in Trinidad. It's all
Just
with the
happened to
Air Force.
coincide with a Russian Antonov.
Because
happened to
that
coincide
came
with a
in.
Russian Antonov craft, right? That
Right,
they come
yeah,
to train here now. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So good morning to the soldiers of the Delaware Army National Guard
so we have
Aviation Unit.
Russians on land, Americans on land,
Mm-hmm.
and Guardia Nacional somewhere around the ocean. We're doing well. And we still don't know where the ship come from.
I want to say thank you, of course, to all of the hundreds of people who came out to Cipriani College over the weekend for our second weekend at Cipriani
It was very
College.
good.
Yeah, with Lovers of Walk. Wendell came on Sunday night, as did Mrs. R. Mrs. R and her mom also came on Sunday night. Mrs. R came backstage. Wendell sent me a message, and he said he really enjoyed it. And Mrs. R also told me she really enjoyed it. She and her mom. I spoke briefly to her mom too. So they came on Sunday evening. So Love is a Walk. That was our second weekend at Cipriani College. Still had wonderful audiences. And now we go back to San Fernando and Sapa, not this weekend, which is Mother's Day weekend, but this following weekend, the 17th, well, the Friday and the Saturday, actually, not the Saturday and Sunday. Friday the 17th at 8:30 p.m. and Saturday the 18th at 8:30 p.m. So Friday and Saturday next week, not this week. Friday and Saturday next week, the 17th and 18th of May, we'll be in San Fernando. I know Southerners have been clamoring for us to come back to San Fernando.
Have you seen it, Paul, or no?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
You have to go and see it. You have to go.
Yeah, it's absolutely a fun. It's resonating with so many people.
Yeah. Also, some good news. I think this is. Hold on. Let me just take this call here. I think this is Captain Ron. This ties into my good news. Captain Ron.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Good. So because I know your telephone number is showing up. As you stay on the line, let's say some good news going out. I don't know his name, and I sent it to you, Captain Ron, of a Tobago-born pilot flying for United Airlines, who you fly for as well, Captain Ron.
Yeah,
And
I don't know.
You know him. So anyway, he's making his first. He made his first flight from Houston to Port of Spain, and because his mother was traveling to Trinidad, and he was piloting the aircraft, and she did not know.
Okay.
So he came on the intercom system and said, he wanted to thank his parents and so on. And the mother was on the aircraft, and of course you all stay at Hyatt or something like that, and she was just so overwhelmed. And I saw a lot of messages on social that it was such a heartwarming story. So I thought I'll share that with you. But thank you for calling in. You called in right at Q. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you all, you guys. Listen, I just wanted to get some clearance in that Antonov 124. The bigger one that you were talking about, the Antonov 225, that's one with the 6 engines. They're rebuilding that right now. They're actually rebuilding it.
Yes.
To get back together. So the Antonov 124, right now there are 2 of them still out here in Orlando. It's a cargo entity, private investors, and it's legal to fly anywhere. That's something to do with the Russian government. They're built in Russia. But there's quite a few of them based here in the United States. And they fly oversized cargo, right? And due to the wing being on top, it's called a high wing assembly. That wing actually, the airplane doesn't need much runway.
Oh, okay.
When you look at these larger airplanes, right? Just take a look at how come it's flying so slow, it's so heavy and huge. Because they have something called high lift devices, flats to help it slow down and create high energy at slow speed.
Yeah.
So that's why they're able to get in. That's why the military planes, most of them have military cargo planes have high wing airplanes because it's more effective.
Yeah.
Keep the wing flying at very low.
Yeah.
But
Thank you, Captain Ron.
something here. You guys, I'm
All
working
right,
out right
Captain.
now. It is so hard. Have a
You
good
know,
morning.
All right, take care. I'm being told
You
by a
know-
pilot, but you mind that it's usually here quite often. No biggie. Is that okay?
you know, Zena going on to it, right? Let's congratulate 11-year-old Jorel Ferguson, who is among one of 40 authors celebrated at the National Library and Information Systems Authority First Time Authors Appreciation Program. He's 11-year-old, and he wrote a book called Cats in Space. So congratulations. I'm trying to bring up his picture, but for some reason it's not reading. Jorel Ferguson, you know. Let's encourage the young ones when they do great things.
There's also a lovely video of I can't remember, but let me see if I get I did take a screenshot of when the concert would be. I think I did at least.
Andre is saying also the Immigration Division launched their new e-visas and e-student permit system. Really?
Immigration Division in Trinidad and Tobago, is that?
That is what Andre is saying in the chat. I didn't see anything covered in the media about that.
Yeah.
But if they did,
Jaden
good for them.
Roberts. I don't know if you know Jaden Roberts. He's a pianist, and he I saw him on, is it Stephen Falmeen Media? You know, he's a teacher, and he's a bit of a social media influencer. He's a social media influencer, I shouldn't say a bit of. And he featured this young guy called Jaden Roberts, who I didn't know, and playing the piano and stuff. And he has his second concert on July 28th, 2024 at Central Bank Auditorium. And it was really a wonderful video. I see if I can send it to you, Paul. And this young guy playing the piano and obviously very versed in playing it. He was calling him a prodigy. And
I had the wrong thing. Let me take up that. I was trying to get a young man's picture.
But it was really a wonderful video to watch in terms of the music, the musicality of the book. And he was playing one of his own compositions too. And I was really impressed. So anyway, apparently he has a concert in July. So I'll keep that in mind to remind people on July 28th. But I think I want to go and see it, you know.
Right. That's the young man who was honored as a first-time author.
Oh, okay.
So good for him. Right. I
Yeah,
get it too.
congrats to him.
Congratulations to this young man. Keep up the good work. You know, that's excellent. Which basically tells you, Rich, that what you've been asking for some weeks now could happen.
If what?
You've been asking for me to bring up the papers when you're going through them. So figure out how to do it.
Okay.
You realize that? You've been asking for that for a while now.
And it should come up on the screen, yes.
Yeah, so I figured out how to do it. I learned something new this morning. Speaking of papers, it's time for that.
Yeah, but I do have newspapers, so I can do them.
Well, which one would
And
you
so
like to
I
start
can
with?
start with the Daily Express of Tuesday, May 7th. I'm now seeing the message from Andre from the Immigration Division on the launch of the new e-visas and e-student permit system.
Right, so Express front page.
Yeah. Well, Express front page is nabbed at Piarco Airport. Cops arrest France suspected co-create mass murder trying to board flight to New York. And that's the main story. And widow's sorrow, Radha Baljo is consoled by her friend Wendy Skinner Abdullah. She weeps at the Forensic Science Center, Federation Park, for her husband, Jonathan Osman, who was murdered at Powder Magazine Concrete on Saturday night, which shocked the country. 12 people shot, 4 dead. Tragic end for 19-year-old, knifed to death. That's also on the front page. And on the back page of the Daily Express this morning, podium potential. Commission gets Olympic medal version as 2 TNT teams qualify. And so that's the big story on the back page of the Daily Express this morning. Moving on to the news day for today, and just in case you didn't know, today is the 7th of May, 2024. Man held at airport hours after concrete quadruple murder. And of course, it's basically the same picture of the same lady, Rada Baljo, and being in grief at the Forensic Science Center. Teen stabbed to death in Freeport. Just sad and tragic news on the front page of the newspapers this morning. And on the back page, Newsday, relay teams book Paris flights. TT women's 4x100 and men's 4x400 squads qualify for Olympics. And Anthony and LeBlanc win Subway Open Water 5K titles. So that's it for the front and the back of the Newsday. On to the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today. On the front page of the Guardian, US $30 million oil spill claim. Minister Young gives Tobago disaster estimate. International body agrees to cover cost of cleanup, and businesses and fisherfolk to be reimbursed for losses too. All of that is on the front page. Folly to shake up THA executive and person of interest in Concrete massacre held at Piarco Airport. Woman set on fire during home invasion, which we touched on this morning. And on the back page of the Guardian today, TNT relay teams heading to Paris. And that's basically the main story on the back page of the Guardian this morning. So now you are up to date with all the main stories on the 3 dailies this morning. I'll see if I can find that video to send it to you, Paul, because it's something you could show, I think.
Right. Steve, I think somebody was outside and Steve went for food. You can't resist that. So
I'm back. I hear my name.
You went for food now. Somebody bring food.
No, Ken was outside.
So,
right.
Those are trending stories in your Express, Guardian, and Newsday for today, Tuesday, the 7th of May, 2024.
Right. So let's get the result of a poll from yesterday, where we asked you, do you think anyone will be brought to justice in the Harp Place and Powder Magazine multiple murders? That was our poll yesterday. Yeah, I'll give you the results right after this. Let me just load it up here because I loaded up and then I restarted the machine. So, all right, here we go.
Trinidad and Tobago, get ready as we move towards a healthy lifestyle change. The Ministry of Health will be conducting a national health survey called the STEP Survey 2024 to gather information from households across Trinidad and Tobago on lifestyle practices that impact your health. Staff conducting the interview will visit your home with a Ministry of Health ID and clothing with ministry branding. All information collected will be kept confidential. So support us today as we take steps to improving the health of all. The STEP Survey 2024. Visit the Ministry of Health's website and social media pages for more information. This message brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
Whether wet or dry season, hazards can strike without warning, causing you or your family to quickly evacuate. You may not have the time to grab the essentials. Be sure to have your grab-and-go bag in easily accessible locations. Here are the top 7 categories that should be included and tailored to your family's need. 1. Non-perishable food items, water, and utensils. 2. First aid kit and extra medication. 3. Personalized items. 4. Change of clothing and comfortable footwear. 5. Copies of important documents such as birth papers and certificates. 6. Cash and small bills. And 7. Tools, safety items, and equipment. For more information on how to be ready, visit odpm.gov.tt. A message from the ODPM.
All right. Of course, our morning poll from yesterday. Do you think anyone will be brought to justice in the Harp Place and Powder Magazine multiple murders? The results are in. 86%, 86 said no. All right. So there you go.
So, did you all see the fashions of the Met Gala last night?
I saw a piece this morning.
Oh my God. They really go all out for that thing, boy.
Did you see someone wore a dress and it had live butterflies in it?
A lot of money spent on those things. I wonder if you could. Anyway, Paul, calm yourself. This is a question this morning, suggested question.
All right.
I see Doja Cat went in a towel.
Well, she saved some money.
She wrapped a towel around her and she went.
Good for her.
But wait, I
All
can
these
do that.
elaborate gongs. We are with this big Lady Gaga, big grand constructions around them.
All right. So our morning poll. Do you think the owner or owners of the vessels involved in the Tobago oil spill will be identified? That is our morning poll.
Wouldn't they identify though?
Well, there was an investigative report done by
but were
GML.
they identified?
They said it was somebody from Nigeria, but going on what the government is saying, they're not
officially.
No.
Okay.
Or ever pay for the oil spill. Is that maybe better?
Okay, revise it then. But call us 222-8255. Start going on queue.
You wanted to revise Ragoobarsingh?
Well, people are already voting, so you can leave it.
Okay.
Yeah, I know I'm going to say that too. All right. Toll free 866-525-1099 on WhatsApp at 318-1021 on Facebook, on YouTube for those watching us on television. Hi.
No, the names of the vessels were identified, we should not the owners.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So do you think the owners of the vessels involved in the Tobago oil spill will be identified? Will ever be found? Yes or no? That's our poll this morning. 222-TALK, 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. And that's absolutely toll-free. People who are watching us on all of the streaming platforms, you can send us your votes via the messaging portals on those platforms. And if you're watching us on television and our various cable channels, you can also vote via WhatsApp at 868-318-1021.
All right. So Karen Yip now said no. Beefy Smith says no. On WhatsApp, Captain Ron says yes. And I have Maria saying, happy birthday to her cousin, Anne-Marie Tinto. Okay, I guess out in Canada. From Maria and Garth Celia. All right. So there you go, Anne-Marie Tinto. Happy birthday to you. All right, let's see if we have any more votes coming in. We have Josie Richardson saying no. Poole saying yes. Slick Money Grip says yes. And just check WhatsApp here. I have Kazim Mohammed saying yes. Good morning to you, Kazim. All right, 222-8255. North Americans, toll free, 866-525-1099. Lester Craigwell says yes. Again, kudos to the TDPS on the capture of that individual in for questioning at Piarco International Airport on Sunday night. Well done, TDPS. All right, do you think the owner or owners of the vessel involved in the Tobago oil spill will be identified? That is our poll this morning. Boy Bedesi, good morning, says yes. Julia S. Batiste says no. Andre, vote is no. All right. Okay.
Just in case for anybody who is wondering.
You can't be on hold, sir. No way.
Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago.
No. We have to make a call to WhatsApp and find out why is that.
You all want to know what time I've been holding on? 50 minutes and 51 seconds.
Wow. If you're trying to send to school now.
We'll make a call after the 7 o'clock news briefly. Ish out in Malik says no. Beauty Culture says yes. Nemesis says yes. Royalty Forever says no. What says you, caller?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning,
I
Mrs.
say yes.
Richards. How are you?
I'm good.
Lovely.
Mi amor?
Buenos días, ¿cómo estás, mi amor?
Buenos días. I'm trying to see how to put my Spanish.
You had a line with some Englishmen.
What? Don't think I know the Spanish, you know.
All right. Thanks, Zena.
Muy bien.
All right.
Muy bien, muy bien.
All right. Thanks, Zena.
I said yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're
Alrighty.
running my soul.
I have.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
I took your vote
Schumer
earlier.
Paul.
You said-
Schumer Paul says no. Carol Guevara says yes. Wayne Joseph says yes. Let's see. All right. Do you think the owner or owners of the vessel involved in the Tobago oil spill will ever be, why am I keep saying ever, will be identified? That is our poll. Lystra Lodge says yes. All right. Thank you, Lystra Lodge. Let's see. I have Karen saying no. I have Roger Seawing saying no to the poll. Thank you. I have Lorna. Morning, Lorna. Indian Kali says no. I have St. Anne's Cascade saying no. Oops. I have Black Pearl. Good morning to you, Black Pearl, saying yes. Thank you so much. Michael Robinson in Yokohama, Japan says no. No, sir. Okay. Evans David says yes. Mrs. R says yes. Do you think the owner or owners of the vessel involved in the Tobago oil spill will be identified? Yes or no?
I saw somebody else from Yokohama, Japan, also saying good morning this morning.
Ready?
A guy called Joe M or something like that.
Oh, I thought it was Ian Lee.
Leon, yeah, from Yokohama. And I said, oh, look at second person from Yokohama, Japan.
Okay, yeah.
Big in Japan. We're big in Japan.
Don't sing.
Oh, yeah, big in Japan.
Sing,
All right,
need
we're
rain.
big in Japan. Oh,
need
the power breakfast.
You know, we
right?
shouldn't get a copyright strike for that.
We should
Big
not.
in Japan.
We should not.
Right.
It will be very unfair.
We'll get it's already torture. So good morning to you, Black Pearl.
Yeah, it's too far from the original to get a copyright strike. This is too far.
All right. Do you think the owner or owners of the vessel involved in the Tobago oil spill will be identified? Yes or no? You have a minute again to vote via telephone, Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp. Tell us what you think. You know, I saw a news article last week where
Somebody can speak Russian. Somebody say good morning in Russian.
that song when I Klingon.
Probably.
The head of some organization, I think the Diving Association, it could be wrong, saying that after they pump out the oil, they should just sink the vessel and make it a part of the reef. So, all right.
You know, they even pull it up and get evidence as to get who leave it there and cost me $30 million.
That's a different story.
See, the commercial is carted now. You should find it in the system.
Yeah, that PC crashed on me.
Okay.
So I'll do the voice. All right. Okay, so let's get into our major news. Evie Sinhill Bab is it.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
A 29-year-old main suspect in Cocoreach shooting held trying to flee the country. A 66-year-old woman is set afire during home invasion. Government estimates 14 to 20 million US dollar cost following Tobago oil spill incident and TNT to benefit from oil spill claims made to the International Oil Pollution Fund in Britain. Details in a moment. This is News 2, 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintelbab. Good morning. A 29-year-old man who has been called the prime suspect in the mass shooting reported in Cocorite on Saturday night, which claimed the lives of 4 men and injured 8 others, has been held attempting to flee the country. The suspect, who was said to be from Waterhole Road in Cocorite, was held last night at the Piarco International Airport. On Sunday, a team of officers from the Western Division, supervised by Senior Superintendent Henry, Superintendent Williams, ASP Lynch, and directly coordinated by Sergeant Jeanville, Corporal Khan, and Corporal Sichan, received intelligence that the suspect was fleeing the country. The suspect was attempting to board a plane to the JFK airport in New York. The officers made their way to the airport at about 10:30 p.m., where they were able to identify the suspect before he could board his flight. The man had been sought for questioning after several rounds of 5.56 millimeter ammunition and 9 millimeter ammunition, along with a magazine containing 5 rounds of 9 millimeter ammunition, were recovered at his house following the execution of a search warrant. A 33-year-old relative was also arrested at the house and also remained in custody yesterday. Over 42 spent shells were recovered outside Building F at Powder Magazine in Cocorite by forensic officials following the shooting, which claimed the lives of Shaquille Otley, 22, 31-year-old Siddiqui Otley, 36-year-old Jonathan Osmond, and Antonio Jack, 57, around 11 p.m. on Saturday. 8 others were also injured in the attack. Among the spent shells found at the scene were 7.62 millimeter ammunition and 9 millimeter ammunition. 4 men were killed in the attack and 4 other people injured. Police are urging the public to be vigilant after a Piarco woman was set afire during a home invasion. On May 5th, the woman was at her home on Kelly Street, Piarco, when 2 people, a man and a woman, pretending to be lost hopeful tenants, called out to her. The 66-year-old woman walked to her front gate, where the woman in the front passenger seat of a black car came out and pulled out a gun, forcing the woman to open her gate. Once inside, the 2 suspects began to ransack the woman's house, looking for valuables as they demanded jewelry and cash. After the woman told them she did not have any valuables, they physically assaulted her. The man threw a liquid on the woman and set her afire. The woman began to scream and the suspects left in their car. Neighbors heard the woman's screams and called the police. The woman was treated at the Arima General Hospital and later discharged. Officers from the Piarco police station are investigating and asking for the public's help in finding the couple. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. Government estimates the cost related to the cleanup and other services paid for following the Tobago oil spill earlier this year could be in the vicinity of 14 to 20 million US dollars. Minister of Energy and Energy Industry Stuart Young told reporters at a news briefing on Monday the ministry is awaiting claims to be submitted from the Tobago House of Assembly before working out the cost to taxpayers to address the February 9th spill. Young said in 2001, this country had signed on to an international convention relating to civil liability in the case of oil pollution. Contributions to this fund were made by Trinidad and Tobago, but this payment stopped when the Petrotrin refinery closed. He said the international fund was contacted, submissions were made recently in Britain, and requests made for access to funding to cover reasonable claims put forward. 2 officials, the director and claims manager from the International Oil Pollution Fund, will arrive in Trinidad and Tobago soon to do follow-up work with the government in this regard. He said work still continues to trace and track the owners of the vessel responsible for the oil spill.
We have given an assurance to the fund that we will continue to work with them to try and locate the owners of these vessels and those who are responsible for it. And that if we are able to pursue any claims, we will then subrogate those claims to the IOPC fund. The good news, though, Trinidad and Tobago, is that we have succeeded in persuading the executive committee that for the Tobago oil spill incident, all reasonable claims that are made will be compensated by this fund.
Meanwhile, the American and Canadian governments are helping Trinidad and Tobago as various leads are being pursued in tracking the owners of the vessels involved in the Tobago oil spill incident, which happened in February this year. Minister Young said that it's apparent there's an industry taking place where rogue vessels and owners are not submitting proper documentation and other critical details relating to their operations, such as insurance. Mr. Young said this situation can negatively impact the maritime industry. The minister said all leads received surrounding the Gulf Stream and the Solo Creed, which was on their way to Guyana, is being pursued, and the hope is to make further inroads in this regard. These details were disclosed during a news briefing on Monday.
From the documentation I have seen that has been made available, the vessels were on the way to Guyana, and we have from the authorities in Guyana a request by the Solo Creed for pilots to come and assist them into Guyana during the period where it actually turned up on the shores in Tobago. So we are pursuing all of the leads that we have. We have been receiving now as well assistance from the United States. The Canadian government got involved and they were assisting.
Straight into weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, mostly sunny, hazy and breezy conditions despite the low chance of a few brief isolated showers. Nighttime will be mostly fair but hazy. A significant concentration of Saharan dust is present in the atmosphere, and persons sensitive to these atmospheric conditions are being strongly advised to take the necessary precautions. Look out for a forecast maximum temperature of 34 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 33 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, the temperature at Piarco International Airport is 28 degrees Celsius. It is 27 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock, a 29-year-old main suspect in Cocorit shooting held trying to flee the country. A 66-year-old woman is set afire during home invasion. Government estimates 14 to 20 million US dollar cost following Tobago oil spill incident, and TNT to benefit from oil spill claims made to the International Oil Pollution Fund in Britain. I'm Afrel Sindel Bab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon today and an update coming your way at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All righty. Thank you so much, Avril, for our major news to 7 o'clock, all powered by Genesco Appliances. And Mom deserves the best with Genesco Appliances. They have just that for her this Mother's Day with our appliances that boost double the features. Save 8% on both our 7 cubic foot freezer fridge and 30-inch stainless steel rotisserie stove this Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day from Genesco Appliances. And of course, our 7 o'clock major news was powered by Genesco Appliances. Good morning to all the folks out at Genesco Appliances. Hope you guys have a great day. Quickly, let's see what's happening on the highways and the byways. Really tell you if there's anything, any issue. Let's see. There's one accident. It's westbound Churchill Roosevelt Highway. It is between Piarco and Trin City Lights. All right. So probably somebody just touched somebody. Southern Main Road. From Nepal Village towards Ibis Gardens, you've got an accident. They were heading to the county roundabout, I should say. And there is another one, northbound Uriah Butler Highway, and this is somewhere, I don't even know where to tell you, by the County River. All right? There's 3 accidents in the morning I've told you about. Expect delays. All right? All right, so let's get back into our morning poll, see what else we have. I've got Chris Toussaint. He says international money is being spent. They will find the owners. Yes to the poll. Thank you so much, Chris. Lennon Robert says no. Wayne B says no. Slick Money Grip says good morning, Evie. Have a blessed day. And I got Mrs. R's vote. So that's all the extra votes I got there, gentlemen. Right. So let's get the results.
Where are you going? The Buck takeover again.
The Buck takeover.
Are you all waiting on me?
Well, yes,
on
I
the Buck.
gave you Yu. Good morning, Yu from Japan. Your fans in Japan. I do believe Yu is Richard. I do believe she was one of the young ladies that came down with Michael Robinson during the carnival period.
Oh, okay.
That we met.
I just want you all to know that I have since hung up on WhatsApp because
I'm gonna make it. We'll give the results, and I'm gonna call.
Yeah, from the time it reached an hour, I was like, okay, I've been holding on for an hour, no more. All right, so the poll results this morning.
Says yes to the poll.
Oh, that's the only additional vote?
No, I gave you some more. I gave you Lennon Robert saying no. Wayne B saying no. Chris Tousse saying yes. And Jaron saying yes.
So we had 33 people voting on the poll this morning. Of the 33 people, 18 of you said yes. You do think the owner of the vessels will be identified. And 15 of you said no. It was pretty even for a lot of the poll, shifting back and forth between yes and no. So this is one of those very competitive polls. 18 of you said yes, 15 of you said no, 33 people in all voted. Of course, you can continue to vote on this poll throughout the day through our programming, and we'll give you the final results tomorrow morning.
Morning, Gavin Hira.
Hi, morning.
Hi, good morning, Gavin.
Morning to our listening audience. And viewing now that I'm told, viewing also.
What do you think? Would you like to venture a response to our morning poll?
What is the poll again?
Do you think the owners of the vessel that spilled the oil in Tobago costing us almost 20 million, if you agree with some resources, $30 million will ever be identified?
Yes, I think they will be identified.
So add another yes to the responses, Ragoobarsingh. Thank you for joining us this morning. The big story this morning is one of the big stories is that, and the newspaper is reporting, according to Minister Young yesterday, the cleanup bill was between 14 and 20 million US dollars. They're still waiting some information from the Tobago House of Assembly, which means it will rise. 20,500 barrels of oil removed from the Gulf Stream vessel. They know the names of the vessel or vessels, but they don't know who owns them. What goes into identifying a vessel like that, Gavin, here? Or those vessels?
What has to happen is that there has to be, and I would have said it earlier on when this thing had erupted, proper tracking of the ownership and the legal papers that are registered with vessels of this nature. And of course, that will involve an international probe. And early, I think both here and elsewhere, we had advocated for international probes on the vessel, its insurance, its coverage, its authority to operate, and that following those channels via the maritime law and maritime legal experts, and of course the maritime authorities, both international and local, you should be able to track the ownership of this vessel. This vessel operating outside there in the territorial waters of various countries just can't do that on its own. Yes, there are ghost ships. Yes, there are vessels that do that. But because of the commodity and the quantity, there had to be some sort of authority. In further to that, and we don't want to go raising up ants' nest again, but communication-wise, when a vessel is outside there, would be communicating with various authorized maritime radio stations, and in so doing, call signs and registrations are also given. They can be false, yes. They can be created, yes. But it tracks back in order to be traced along the whole aspect of the global maritime surveillance. So there are key areas that can be used, and there are also very what is known as regulated lanes that can really bring back information. We have to have a sort of investigative approach, and I'm hoping that there's a body and an authority somewhere doing that so that the information can come forward. But it's possible.
Gavin, beyond, I mean, moving and segueing, of course, into the issue of crime in Trinidad and Tobago, and I heard some various voice notes from you yesterday that Steve would have shared with us, and that looked at the criminal element and how it seems to be ramping up. And I mean, it's almost indistinguishable between ramping up and just being in this general period of what people are calling darkness in Trinidad and Tobago. You had that mass shooting in Coconut. And I know there was a quibble about, is it a mass shooting, is it not a mass shooting? Well, by American standards, it would be considered a mass shooting. How does this society so small have such horrific shootings, and how do we deal with it and move forward from this? And in a tangible way that gets citizens who are jaded with the ability of the state to deal with crime, and figuring that the state just doesn't know what to do. How do we move on from this?
Yeah, if we look at it, we would have seen basically an escalation of the type of shootings. We had homicides, shootings, yes, shooting deaths. Now there seems to be a new trend, and I think the law enforcement needs to recognize that it's a new trend. People are now utilizing drive-by shootings and shooting at crowds. We had some of that earlier on before, where we saw people shooting at wakes and 4 or 5 people getting shot and that, but now it seems to be the new trend of instilling fear. It's a new dynamic of our criminality, and part of the investigations, part of the tactical operations will also be those within the offices of law enforcement who are looking at the development of these trends and how it came about and why it came about and why is it being used. What is the new fear factor that they're trying to drive into communities or drive into warring gangs? But that's where it pivots. Warring gangs. Why? And you're correct. Why a country so small, so unique in its culture and the variations of how we enjoy life have erupted into something like this. And now there's a blatant disregard. Is it? And the question is being asked so that there can probably be some concerns within the echelons of authority to answer. Is it that law enforcement is compromised? Is it that law enforcement now seems helpless against these gangs because they have been compromised? If that is not so, then law enforcement needs to shift gear. But why should it have to reach for a point of reaction? Why could not it have been where we know what is taking place amongst these gangs and the claim for turf war in a small, peaceful country? I would like to always hold on to Trinidad because a peaceful country at one time, and be able to address the why is this happening? Is it narco turf? Is it government contracts, for instance, or is it just stupidity as for borders, as we have seen in the past? So why has this happened, and then why are we pushing so hard to prove a point to stamp our authority on turf? So these are some of the questions that needs to start surfacing amongst the authorities and law enforcement so that the proper action can be taken. But as it is now, we are thrown into a corner of concern, because one wonders if we react, how are we? Is it going to be the same old way, the searching of buildings, the locking down of communities, the traffic stops? What is going to be the next move by law enforcement to quell or to bring to control what we are seeing playing before us?
Well, I got a little glitch in the matrix here, just so apologies. My computer just logged me out just like that. Mm-hmm. Somebody must just praying hard. Anyway, Gavin, Hira, you say what is going to make the difference? What has made the difference in other jurisdictions is the effective employment of technology continuously. Now, this country has had an association with CCTV cameras for, I would say, since the Cricket World Cup in 2007, right? It was part of the prerequisite of hosting a large tournament like that. Yeah. And then the Chugam, when you were bringing Barack Obama, the Queen, and all these people in, they put up CCTV cameras. From all indication, they weren't maintained. They're in the process of putting up new ones. But in every other jurisdiction, in addition to the state installed and monitored CCTV cameras, they are private sector CCTV cameras, commercial, industrial, residential, in addition to other forms of technology. Are we really employing the level of technology we should in the fight against crime. Because you can't
Yeah,
have an officer everywhere.
I know there was a move and a drive. I can't give the stability or what we call the operational status of where and how these cameras are now working, but I know there was a drive to remove and replace some of those that were unserviceable with serviceable ones. But let's just talk that, for instance. The installation of the CCTV cameras is just but one part of proper investigative and policing practices. The installation means, okay, we now have surveillance and watch over communities, streets, highways, whatever, roadways, merchant roads. The other aspect of it is the integration of the private business cameras into the national security grid so that there can be a crossover and there's a sharing of information, an agreement, an MOU, whatever, and that happens. So there's access. But even with the watch, even with the observation, with the surveillance, there has to come with it a certain type of mindset and practice by our law enforcement to maximize these resources and to be able to track and more importantly, follow the utilization of the cameras so that intercepts can be done, so that you can stop vehicles, so that you can prevent vehicles from coming to a crime scene, or when leaving a crime scene. It's the same grid that we've always been talking about, and the repositioning of assets so that you can have the choke points and all of that. So there has to be a holistic utilization of the resources. Installation and watch, yes, but what is the ground support, ground response, or air response to these criminal acts? For instance, let's just look at Cocorate, let's look at Speyside, let's look at Maraval, for instance, even some of the stuff that took place in San Fernando in South. You know, if it happens at the crime scene, okay, and the vehicle is leaving, who is tracking the leaving of that vehicle so that somewhere, a mile, 2 miles up the road, there can be an intercept, or the vehicle can be followed to exactly where it goes. And in some time, earlier on, you know, we had even the air law enforcement capability where we had the helicopters deployed all the time, 24/7, with the night sun and stuff that could have been utilized with the cameras, air to ground surveillance received, so that there's a holistic machinery of surveillance taking place.
Yeah,
with
but Gavin, just to interrupt you, that issue of air support, because the state stopped the issue of air support with regard to the helicopters because they said it was too expensive. Basically, I'm simplifying the explanation, but that's what it was. Was that a mistake?
Right.
In your opinion?
So I'm not equipped intellectually to indicate whether the state made a mistake or not. What I can say, however, is that
you're a security expert. You're a security expert. That's your skill set. You're supposed to know whether it's a mistake or not.
I'm trying to stay in lane here. But
if it was a mistake, it was a mistake. If it puts us at a disadvantage,
let me explain. Okay.
Surveillance.
You get into office and you realize that there's some things that are working and not working. You run your assessment and your feasibility checks. Okay, that's expected, and you stop certain things. But the issue is that if it is that air law enforcement was going to be stopped because of it's too expensive to maintain, as was said, then I would have expected by now we would have recognized the integral role that air law enforcement and surveillance played on national security, support of national security, support of other ministries, support of disaster management, full works, national support. And we would have been able to replace what was then with something that might have been at a smaller scale, but still having the operational capability to provide support to the state. So it should not have been a removal with no replacement. And that's where I think the error was made. That's where I think it was a mistake. You can't just remove and not replace, because when you do the assessment, when you look at the stats, when you look at the results, when you look at the comfort and security of the citizenry, because we had that sort of surveillance and support, then it should have been recognized, wait a minute, we need to replace it with something that was a lot less expensive, but still being able to give an effort of support to national security. There's none. It's blind. We are now empty without that. And helicopters in air law enforcement, the air law enforcement utilizing the helicopters is different from air law enforcement and surveillance utilizing drones. Drones provide surveillance and intelligence gathering, picks up trends, can actually do following of targets, yes, but it cannot do intercept. And intercept from the air, supporting your ground is very, very important. And we are still in the phase of reacting towards a crime that was committed. I'm trying to move that think pattern to being able to provide such a rigid approach to the crime and the criminality and the gang warfare and the drive-by, so that we are actually preventing that from happening with the investigative and intelligence probes that can be done. How by now we haven't looked at developing a different type of approach to be able to prevent those things, because the ground knows when a hit is happening. The ground and the gangs know something is going to take place and it's going down. We have to be able to penetrate the ground, and I think that is where right now we are playing catch up.
And I hear you, and it almost seems as if there's a circularity in terms of these conversations that we have concerning crime, because it always comes back to a lot of the solutions or possible solutions being articulated, not only by people like yourself, but like when we speak to Gary Griffith, etc. And Gary Griffith was big on having the command center or operations center, that one center that was monitoring cameras and stuff like that, which he says was disbanded. I don't know what they do now precisely in terms of monitoring stuff, because it's something that we discuss on the show all the time.
Center that's just been renamed. They have the same basic operational strategic intention, but it's just been renamed. They've just renamed it. It's the same kind of.
Yeah, a lot of times when we on this show, we talk about the issue of criminals must use the roads. Most crimes are committed in vehicles, and vehicles, whether stolen or not, have to hit the roads, have to hit the highway, have to hit main roads, have to go somewhere. And that issue of air support, we talk about it all the time on this Power Breakfast show, and why they disbanded air support, because any average television show you watch coming out of the United States with regard to crime and law enforcement always has helicopters.
And the UK.
That's part of their network. Yeah. And they're not making it up. It's a reality of what occurs. And you just wonder, if we are serious and if we recognize that we are in the throes of a crime crisis, is that expense not warranted? Because we have these conversations and we say the same things in a circular manner, and we talk about crime and we talk about, oh, they know there's so many gangs and there's so many gang members, and then people on the ground will be saying, well, if they know who the gang members are, why aren't they arresting them? Because being a member of a gang is a crime, is a criminal offense. So why isn't that being done? If you know how many gangs there are, you know how many gang members there are, you know where the main gangs are, whether it's 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10, whatever the numbers are now. And you know, and the rest of the society is just like cowering and as I said earlier, jaded about the state's ability and the experts to get a handle on this.
Yeah, for real. Not that we want to go down that air law enforcement thing for too long, guys, but you need to expand the whole requirement outside of covering the streets and the communities at nights, or even patrolling during the day in case there's a carjacking or robbery or whatever, and go outwards a little bit, again, even to our border control management, where we have the free movement of vessels coming in and out of the mainland, be they moving people, contraband, drugs, arms and ammunition, you name it. And the air law enforcement will also provide that sort of coverage. Aircraft supporting our radars is good. Surface vessels has to support the radars and the aircraft, but more importantly, that inland sort of coverage on the coastline, the helicopters by air law enforcement also provided coverage, and there was some sort of vigilance outside there. But back to what you were saying, Richard, it is very, very important for us to know that on those crime scenes, after those drive-bys, that is now, pushing and have our whole citizenry covering in fear. On that site, on that crime scene, there are people who know who were the shooters, who knows why this took place, who knows what would have actually caused or triggered this reaction. It's not innocent people sitting under a tree playing wappy and then there's a drive-by shooting and 6 people die. It's always an issue 3-4 days back or on that same evening that occurred that would have triggered that, and there might have been a reason by the warring gang to react like that. So I am saying, what sort of penetrative intelligence gathering is being conducted in some of these high-risk areas that are now prone to these type of drive-bys and shootings and attacks, so that the information can be extracted so as to educate and inform law enforcement for proper staging of operations and responses that would be required. And I say this, Trinidad and Tobago, do not dismiss within the walls of the prison. Do not dismiss what is taking place inside of the community of the prison, because a lot of information exists inside of that platform that is now being acted upon, that is now being rolled out and executed in civil streets. So there are key areas, there are sponges that can be squeezed to get information. We have to know how, who, and where, and approach that with the stealth of the intelligence gathering that we once knew and controlled in this country.
But you mentioned something earlier on, and my understanding is that one of the reasons that the operation that led to the arrest of the suspect in the mass killing in Cocorite on Saturday and apprehending that person at the airport was the fact that the law enforcement persons who were investigating kept a very tight lid on the information that they had. So the information did not go out to rogue officers who could then warn their counterparts in the criminal world and tell the man the police coming for you in the airport, run.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah,
that is a big issue the police service is faced with.
Yeah,
rogue officers who take intelligence and feed it back to the criminals so they can evade police capture.
Yeah, it's compromise. And I said that earlier. Is it that certain elements of law enforcement is compromised at this point? And why am I saying that? Is because, is it that, and I'm sure the question has to be asked, be it by the PCA or even by the Professional Standards Bureau, whoever, or who divisionally too might be aware, is it that we have police officers working with these gangs? Is it that we have officers who are on the take?
Why are you asking that question still? Is that a question you're asking?
I'm asking. It's a research
question.
Okay.
Was that question still? Okay.
Data. It's data gathering.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
but one of our listeners was just referencing that the experiment, according to an experiment at Tunapuna, seems to have worked in terms of detection and being and certainly has complemented the security network in the Tunapuna area, where the businessmen got together and furnished a particular room, I think in the Tunapuna police station, where they can monitor the CCTV cameras and stuff. And you wonder why other communities aren't making more use of things like that, and the business community being more aggressive.
And that's a private company.
Certain areas, certainly in Tunapuna, they've done it, and it seems to be yielding some success in terms of minimizing at least a certain amount of crime and criminality in the Tunapuna district, business district at least.
And therein lies a good launch pad, a springboard for other communities to latch on to that working model and utilize it with maybe the Chaguanas, the Martins, the Maravals, the Port of Spains. I think it's a good opportunity to work closer.
Arima, you leave out Arima, Gavin.
Arima had something early, Richard. In very, very early, the Arima businessmen had started something. It just didn't kick off as it should have been. I remember providing some support and advice on that. But Arima too, for real. And use that as the sort of bridge between law enforcement and the business community, so that we could perfect some sort of model that can be applicable in the policing approaches. But we still have hurdles to jump over. We still have officers on this shift who will operate and work with us, and then officers on the next shift who really not part of that whole drive and that extra oomph, that extra effort. And so it's a holistic sort of approach, because it's a new dynamic. It comes right down to something that I know we don't like to talk about here: body cams, for instance, or the dash cams of the police vehicles. Those are some key things that has to.
Why are you bringing up that?
We have to modify our approach.
Why are you bringing up that? Why are you trying to upset us this morning now?
No, I didn't intend to, my friends.
Body cam. We're really going to talk about it again? That dead right where it is there.
Yeah. But
PCA, PC, body cam and the police still resisting it. Gavin, I want your opinion on an article.
It's playing catch up. it's a
There's a
whole.
reason why there's a resistance by a general resistance, I'm saying, by the TTPS to consistently wear body cams, despite what they have said in public statements over many years. There seems to be a resistance to me. Anyway, there was an announcement about 2 days ago, which was carried in the news in an article by Jada Lutu, where the title is "Government Moves to Overhaul Gun License Laws," and I'll read a part of it. Government is proposing sweeping changes to overhaul Trinidad and Tobago's firearm laws, removing the discretion of the Commissioner of Police to approve gun licenses and impose a ban on military-type weapons in the hands of civilians. Gun-free zones are also recommended, including the Parliament, courts, schools, colleges, universities, childcare centers, bars, banks, places of worship, and any government or private buildings declared by the Minister. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think we are in a position for that right now. I will need to hear more. I need to do some more research, but some of the factors, the tributaries out of this proposal needs to be re-examined. We have to understand what is taking place in the environment. We have to understand what is taking place in the atmosphere, and restrictions on civilians to be able to protect and defend themselves and their property. But yet still there's no sort of drive so as to remove firearms off the street or to stop the international arms trade of high-powered weapons coming into this country. What is going to happen is that we will only be authorizing pistols for civilians, but criminals will have high-powered weapons. So I know military-type weapons.
So you have the view that civilians should have access to high-powered weapons? You have that view?
No, I am saying that there has to be restrictions on the type of weapons that a civilian can have. I'm saying that, but it still cannot be brought down to small arms, or that you should be able to have weapons that can protect you in this specific environment. And if it is that we have a classification, that's fine. But the same sort of fervency that is being approached for civilians and authorized issuance of firearms, there needs to be a drive by law enforcement to prevent criminals from getting access to high-powered weapons, because there will always be an imbalance. We have to, as civilians, have to understand that we want to be in a position to be able to defend ourselves should our perimeter be breached, should our business be breached. And in some instances, not necessarily military-type weapons, but we are expected to be able to access the type of weapons that will cover us with classifications of protection. And that is something that needs research and, of course, identification. But how it's being presented and how it appears is that we are going to try our best to restrict civilians and law-abiding citizens and taxpayers to be able to access certain type of weapons, but yet still criminals has a free-for-all where you could go anywhere under a garage and galvanize and buy a high-powered weapon.
Maybe we should identify the difference between a high-powered weapon and a military-grade weapon, and there's a difference, I'm presuming.
That's what I'm saying. Some of the classifications has to be identified, and that will take some research and some study, and of course, what is accepted in civilian standards, and of course, looking at some of the practices internationally.
But do you personally think that the process of law-abiding citizens getting access to firearms should be a robust but simpler bureaucratic system, and that people should be entitled to have firearms?
Yes, I do. I believe people should be entitled to firearms. There should be a proper, what will be layers of assessment, and of course, continued due diligence and overwatch by authorities. There should also be proper, not just what have been instituted for the certificate of competence and that type of stuff from our gun dealers, but there should be a linkage between our law enforcement and gun owners, so that training and practices. I've been involved in a couple of seminars recently, coordinated through Mr. Umlala and his office. Prakash Ramadar was also one of the speakers, and we were speaking specific to how do you operate when you have a firearm, in the event that you have to use your firearm. What are some of the legal things that needs to be done? That's a whole conversation by itself, guys. But more importantly, educating FUL holders so that you are aware of what are the parameters that you can operate within now that you own a firearm. Those are some of the improvements that we need to see in country. But I am all for arming our citizens so that we can protect ourselves.
One of the parts of the recommendation is, which always sends off a red flag in my head, It states removing the discretion of the Commissioner of Police to approve gun licenses. Now, there was a bill that was brought some time ago where there was an attempt, a clause initially included to put the minister in charge of renewing gun licenses, which was craziness. They eventually withdrew it. But what are your thoughts on, because politicians should be nowhere near that process, removing the discretion of the Commissioner of Police to approve gun licenses? Where would you repose that if not with the Commissioner of Police?
Yeah, I honestly believe that the Commissioner of Police has to be part of any authorizing system. I think it shouldn't be the be-all and end-all. I would probably advocate that there can be an independent oversight by the right-hand picked people, not politically appointed, who can be that team, 2-3-man team, including the Commissioner of Police that can do the authorization. I think that's how it could be. It's not simplifying the process, but it's making the process more acceptable along the lines of how we operate as a country. But it shouldn't be just left up to the commissioner, he or she, to sign on.
Why would we change that? Is there an issue with that now? Because there's the talk about the inordinate delay in people getting their licenses renewed, and people, I think that some people took it to court. Is there an issue that you see that has arisen recently that would prompt a move from the present situation?
Well, the delay is one thing. The some of the alleged allegations of former operations is also another. And I think we should now be able to present something that seems transparent. We should be able to present something that you see, when we have an issue in country and there are inquiries and there are investigations and information gathering, we should use those opportunities to come up with something that is different and what I will call more the approach to accountability and transparency is there. So we use the issues and the lessons learned and the errors of past operations and experiences to create some more practices.
Is it me, Steve, or is it Gavin?
Not sure.
All right,
you dropped out there a little bit, Gavin. Internet froze for a bit. Our wonderful providers.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah. We're
you
hearing
see, to me, when you want to make sweeping changes like that, you need to justify why you're making the changes. And not justify it with old talk and conjecture and supposition. Justify it with evidence. That, well, this is not working because.
Yeah.
You understand? And justify it with legitimate evidence, and don't just make a change because you feel it will be better.
Whims and fancy. It can be whims and fancy. It can
be whims and fancies. You have to really prefer an argument that justifies you making a change like that.
It's basic practice, you Pablo, and we go back, you conduct your research, you collect your data, you analyze your data, you present the findings on the data so that you have empirical evidence to justify your decision. It's not just making a decision because of how you had this conversation or who advised you, or 2 or 3 people deciding to come up with it. It has to be evidence and empirical evidence based so that you can always reflect on that. And that data is not just stats. That data is findings, is results. When you look at what has happened and you use those ills to correct. And if you look at the health sector, for instance, we don't have time for that. I have to pull out.
We don't have time for that. But is it that, because I don't see a lot of conversation in the past few months anyway on whether or not the interdiction of illegal guns coming through legal and illegal ports, that these strategies are bearing fruits. As a matter of fact, there's an absence of any information. But be sure it didn't stop coming in illegal and illegal ports, the illegal guns that is. Is it that we just decide, well, it's beyond us and we just do what we can and continue?
Exactly. The interdiction is happening on the ground in Trinidad. We're seeing doors being kicked down, and we're finding a 5-gun and a 6-gun, or intercepts finding guns without nobody.
But they're done here already.
Yeah, but the guns here already. Exactly. How is it here already?
The guns are here. Where's the ammunition coming from? It's
exactly.
Like a phone.
It's guns and ammunition, Steve. It's not just guns alone, because the ammunition is a supporting commodity towards the asset. So that too is part of the trade. I am not comfortable that we are really looking at. I talked about it at one time about the firearms interdiction unit specific to firearms only and having a gun court. specific to gun-related crimes and having a jail for firearm criminals found a specific sort of holding for them, because we have to recognize how important it is to be able to address firearms. When we had kidnappings and it existed in this country, a specific system was set up to treat with that and to bring it under control. We now have a challenge with the firearms, and it is beyond the firearms in the streets. It's firearms for international small arms and light weapons trade that has infiltrated the borders of not only Trinidad and Tobago, but the region. The same thing is in Kitts, in Lucia, St. Vincent, Grenada. You're seeing that same sort of pattern. So the Caribbean is a market for small arms and light weapons trade coming out of the US, out of North America, out of South America. We cannot just try to fix the issue in country. It has to be an external aspect and utilize the support of our international counterparts. Guys, I have to meet another commitment, and I do apologize, Trinidad and Tobago.
All right. Thank you, Gavin.
All right. Thank you, Gavin. All the best to you.
God bless.
All right.
Steve, where you got to the ammunition coming from? The ammunition come from the same place the illegal guns coming from. When you feel
no, they're saying that the gun. No. It's a big conversation.
But
it is a big conversation.
So you're going to ship in illegal guns and not shipping in ammunition?
No, guns are here already. There are boatloads of ammunition only coming in. So that is why I asked that.
Where you get information from that boatloads of ammunition?
I can't tell you where I get information from. There's no such thing as stupid.
Somebody shipping in illegal guns, but they're not bringing in ammunition.
You tell me my question was stupid? It's not a stupid question. There are guns here.
I'm asking.
No. Listen, there are guns. There are tons of
ammunition too.
There are tons of guns in the country. Most of the guns that are here already need ammunition. The authorities know where these illegal ports are. I'm sure the authorities know. I can't say they know for a fact. But you're right. There is no communication when it comes to that.
222 talk. You can call now. Good morning, Zena. You can call back now. I don't have any information that the...
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Great interview by Mr. Hira, as usual. I want to endorse... Paul, I have a little comment to make, a little jab to point at you, poke at you.
That's all right. Our custom.
Paul, why are you catfishing? That photo that you have on your display is one of when you were 16 years, and when you come on the screen is a totally different person. You need to update that photo that you have on your screen when you pause your video. That's just a little jab at you there, Paul. But Mr. Hira,
what I want to tell you, eh? What I want to tell you.
Don't tell me on here. When we meet somewhere,
you tell me on here, do.
I can do that.
You know catfishing has a particular context, right?
Yes, I do.
Watch me. Me ain't fishing you at all. Trust me. So you don't have to worry. You are not the subject of my fishing. If I am fishing.
For you and that, okay? Have a good one. But Mr. Hira, that conversation that you brought up with Mr. Hira, that topic you brought up there about the commissioner not having what he suggested was a very good suggestion, where there be a panel. If and when the commissioner doesn't respond or fail to give you a FUL, there need to be some board, some appeal, rather than the court. Because let's face it, the court is an expensive procedure. So there need to be somewhere to appeal when she does not repass. Because I read something on the papers the other day. Was it somebody claimed that they asked her why she didn't do any, or she haven't approved any FULs, and her response was
she had plenty of work.
Yeah, she had plenty of work or something.
Which I think is a ridiculous prospect because she ain't doing it all by herself.
Paul, let me tell you something.
And that's why I asked the question.
I feel you need to...
Is there definitive information that can be substantiated that this process that has been in existence so long is overwhelming for this commission at this time? I haven't gotten that information.
There is, but you didn't pick up on it. I realized you were setting the ground for that scenario, but Mr. Hira didn't pick up on it.
I wasn't setting no grounds.
You need to ease up. I think you need to ease up on the commissioner. right? I feel you need to lighten up on her because clearly this woman has a phobia for the camera. She speaks real nonsense when she's in front of a camera. When you talk to that woman personally, she's a very nice woman. She could talk to you as an individual person to person. But for some reason, in front of a camera, she gets flustered and all kind of craziness has come out her mouth. When she said the other day, the police doesn't condone.
Will not continue to condone.
Yes, it was like my jaw dropped. I was like, oh my God.
But you know what she meant. But yes, she's not the best orator.
She is not. So when the woman chooses not to take interviews and do interviews, you have to understand why. She's not a very good person with a mic in front of her face, right? If you speak to her personally, I've spoken to her personally, and she could articulate herself very well.
You know that's part of the job, right?
A mic in front of her face, I know.
Mic in your face is part of the job with encouraging confidence, right? You know that, right?
And you know, part of the criteria to get the job, you have to do some kind of oral survey or some kind of. So I wonder how she passed that part of it. If you know, she clearly can't speak, right? So I would ease up on her on that.
I wouldn't say she can't speak. I would say there's some improvement and training required. I wouldn't say she can't speak. I say it's not her first most prominent skill set.
Yes. To be politically correct, that's you are, Paul. You like to correct people with the words.
Well, words have meanings, you know.
Words have meanings. Yes, you're absolutely right. But sometimes it does come across a little narcissistical. Yeah, I see you just jamming Wendell the other day for a little nitpicking a little words. I was like, oh,
and you don't come across narcissistic.
I do sometimes. I am aware of it.
I guess all of us have our faults.
Are you aware of it? I'm aware of my narcissism sometimes. Are you
I am fully aware of mine.
Okay, then we're both in the same thing. All right, then.
All right, then.
Another caller. Yes.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Moving on. Good morning, caller. Oh my goodness. Hello.
Good morning, gentlemen.
I was wondering for a second.
No, yeah, my call didn't hook up yet. The person like they hung up before me. I want to tell Lincoln, the pretty speech from a commissioner does not solve crime. We had Gary Griffith with all his fancying and his talks and what. Look at we in this mess. But I listened to him on I think Marlon Hopkinson interviewed him yesterday. And of course, you know, he go bash this one, bash that one. And he is saying, and I can't understand, if you put things in the command center based on what he said when he was commissioner, where you could have seen the radius was so wide, all downtown, well, I don't know how far in the west, and they would have been able to see when that vehicle was, well, might not have been in Cocorit itself, but coming down maybe the foreshore, Western Main Road, and be able to intercept that vehicle. And I am asking, so when he demitted office, he's trying to tell us who it was. Jacob came after him. So Jacob dismantled all that. Imagine that, something to help your officers solve crime. They would have dismantled that. The commissioner is not the person on the ground doing the work. The officers just not doing the work, at least some. Because I must say kudos to those who held that guy at Piaco. When they do good, I praise them. When they do nonsense, I bash them. So I must say kudos to the officers. You all have done well. But the problem is when you catch these people, that fella will be sitting down in prison 10 years from now. Richard, why is it that cases have to take 10 and 15 years in prison? You all had a caller yesterday, a fraud case, 14 years it can go before the courts. Richard, who could we go to? Israel Khan is saying, talk to the Prime Minister. I don't know the Prime Minister could get in case. Yesterday he was on TV saying that. Talk to the DPP. Ask your DPP that question. Ask the CJ. But the CJ told me he don't put off case. So I don't know who. Is it Jesus had to come down and talk to our judiciary? So cases will not go beyond 5 years. Richard, help. I need some answers. Please. Thank you. You'll have a blessed day.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Digo Martin. Is Richard back in? Didn't they expect a call?
No, he said he had an appointment. He had to leave.
Oh, okay. He'll get a call shortly. Good morning.
Yeah. Hey, Steve Cam.
Morning.
I think we need to explore a little more the psychosocial effects of how our generations are being grown up and the experience. I mean, here Captain Hira say we are a peaceful country, but a country born out of colonialism, slavery, indentureship, colonialism, had a historical violent past, and I think it's...
So can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing crime surges in all countries born out of a colonial past?
Well, that's an interesting question because Professor Redrock made a very
because
interesting...
we ain't the only country born out of a colonial past, you know.
No, the Caribbean
Right.
Caribbean and Latin America is experiencing an upsurgence in crime, and that's an interesting question you brought up there. So there are global factors, but there are also historical factors, and there are cultural factors. And if we are not exploring these things, as Professor Hutchinson made in his thing, he exclaimed there's a lot of stress factors that affect and create violence in levels. And and I'm just saying that we need to explore these things. And we have to have an honest conversation about our violence and our violent habits or the cultural habits that create violence. There's a young man started at the papers, 19. They were quarreling for 2 years, for years, quarreling, every day quarreling, until he was stabbed by a family relative. Now, these are not only isolated events. We saw in the same thing, violence. We have violence around in the community and our social factors that if you go one way, it's deviant criminal activity, but people are experiencing violence on a normal, everyday basis, talking arguments, the way how people speak to each other, the way how people interact, and I'm talking about domestic violence, sexual violence. Growing up, there was a psychological report of some young children in certain communities that experience the gunshots and that kind of violence. And we have to really understand factors to know why a young man will point a gun into a crowd and shoot up the place. Is that dissociative behavior? And these are things. And I think these are psychosocial, and the professionals that do those research are there, and they have made it present, some of their papers, and that's why I quote, he's one of the few people who are presented in the UV papers. It's in the, you get it, anything. He has spoken, most of the times, it's him that I read about these dissociative behaviors. He even spoke about the nation as having ADH kind of thing. So if y'all talk to him, maybe we could get some clarity and think about this thing. But I understand laws are laws and criminal activity, but I find it very important to look at the psychosocial aspects of how we shape ourselves as human beings. And if we forget that aspect of it, we will create laws, but always fall back on deviant behavior. You know, land grabbing is a thing. What is land grabbing? That's a dissociative behavior, and that is a big, very problematic thing going on all over Trinidad. Taken. We have an idea of taken. I was talking about two other young men from Boom Champion, listening to him, that's years ago, talking about giving a wine and taking a wine, how that has changed. One of the young girls said, she gave a wine and a man undressed the woman. That's violence.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. You all have a great day. Be safe out there, please, and check us out tomorrow morning. Thank you for being here today. Have a wonderful day.
All righty, let's get into our news. Evie is in.
This is your news bulletin